everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of Regina the Telephone Farmer, the podcast where we bring you real stories, real solutions, and the real hustle behind remote farming in Africa. I'm your host, Diana, and today it's all about one of the most popular crops in Kenya, the Shangii potato. If you've ever thought about venturing into potato farming but weren't sure where to start, this episode is for you. With me is Regina, who has been growing Shangii potatoes remotely for several seasons and has learned what really works. Regina, karibu.
Thank you, Diana. Asante sana. Always happy to share what I have learned.
Regina, I think a lot of people, me included, would assume the first thing to do is to just start digging and preparing the land. But you've told me that's not actually where it starts. Why is that?
That's right. Before touching your land, you need to decide how much you want to plant and make sure you book enough certified Shangii seed. Local seeds from the market or from your neighbor might seem cheaper, but it has no guarantee and often carries diseases. Certified seeds is the better option. It gives healthier plants and better yields. But demand is very, very high, and there are only a few suppliers. Like in Molo, we go to ADC or Baraka Institute. So you need to book months ahead. For example, on our 1 acre, we use about 16 bags of 50 kg each at about 3,500 to 4,000 shillings per bag. So in one season, if you're planning to do 1 acre, in summary, pay 64,000 Kenya shillings for 1 acre.
Okay, Regina, let's talk about testing your soil. Once you've secured the seed, can't you just prepare the field and the plant? Why do you say soil testing is so important?
Diana, that is a very valid question. Many farmers skip soil testing, but it is a huge mistake, and believe me, we've learned from that. On our farm, testing revealed how the pH was too low. So we applied lime and also added phosphorus and boron. These corrections take time. You must do it early. It is also important to avoid planting potatoes right after crops like tomatoes, peppers, or eggplants, since they are in the same family and they carry the same diseases. Always rotate with maize, beans, or cabbages for healthier soil before returning to potatoes.
That's interesting. I didn't know that, Regina. And now the part I always assumed comes first, preparing the land. But you've explained to me why it's risky to do that too soon. Could you explain further?
Yes, preparing the land can be expensive. You start by plowing, and then you do harrowing, and then ridging. And it makes no sense to do that if you don't actually have the seed ready. Why do I say that? It's because if you do it when the seed is ready, you may have to redo the whole process, and that's a cost you could have avoided. Always confirm your booking first. Once you've done that, then you can plow, then followed by harrowing, and you must harrow twice. And this is to help your land to have very, very soft soil. Then make ridges so the soil is fine and loose for the tubers to grow. And don't just plant at the first sign of rain. Wait for reliable rains. When the soil is moist, to planting depths, the forecast shows more rain is coming.
Okay, Regina, so for areas where rain isn't so reliable, what are the options?
Think about irrigation. And if you are going to do irrigation, just keep in mind that for potatoes, you need about, 3,000 to 35,000 liters of water per acre. And this is per week. So split into 2 stations, irrigate early and then late in the afternoon to minimize evaporation. Most farmers actually use sprinklers, which is good, but drip is even better. If you can afford drip irrigation, do it. It will save water and keep the leaves dry, thus reducing risk for diseases. Also, avoid flooding completely because it can rot the tubers. In Kenya, there are available companies that can help with irrigation like Amiran, Irako, or Dave's, and I think they are called Dave's and Sharlift, and they can help you setting up the system.
Once the crop is growing, is it just a waiting game?
No, Diana. You still need to keep working. Weeding is very critical as it reduces competition from nutrients and water. And actually, if you did your land very well, you may not even need to weed. You will just have to bring the soil back. As you do that molding, you can be uprooting whatever is competing with your crop. During planting, you do fertilizer application, and this makes a big difference in yield and tube quality. So in our farm, we usually apply fertilizer in 2 stages. At the beginning, during planting, we use DAP, and it is diammonium phosphate to support the strong root for development. And then later, in about 4 to 6 weeks, we use CAN, and that is calcium ammonium nitrate. And this is to promote healthy leaf and growth and tuber bulking. One very important with fertilizers, please, if you can, always go to the government counties to buy those from I think we call it KFA or the cereal board. Yes, buy from there because these are the private fertilizers, and we have used it, but we realized it didn't work very well for us. That's why we had to treat our soil. That's just a disclaimer. Some farmers also apply foliar fertilizer, and in this they spray during the vegetative stages, and this is to address any nutrients deficiencies and to strengthen the plant. In colder areas like in Keringet or Molo or areas where it's cold, you will need to be on the lookout for frost and wilt or frost wilt. It can severely damage young leaves. We protect our crop using anti-frost sprays like Crop Sure, Frost Shield, or Shield Plus, especially if the night temperatures are expected to be low. And one more thing, Diana, start thinking ahead about your next season crop rotation. Remember, continuous potato farming can exhaust the soil and attract pests and diseases. So always plan to rotate your potato crop. Rotate with maize or with beans. But for us, one of our best choices that we recently realized is sunflower. The sunflower does not only break the disease cycle, but also helps reconditioning the soil. Just the crop rotation itself. And sunflower has a deeper taproot system that improves the soil structure. Plus, it can fetch good price when it is harvested. So some places buy your sunflower. They make what is called sunflower cake for the cows. And you can press to come up with sunflower oil for cooking.
Okay, Regina, how do you make sure you can sell your harvest and not lose all that hard work?
Very good. And this is a very important question. And I'm glad that you asked this. Why? Because before you do your planting, before you even think about planting potatoes, make sure you have a ready market. Remember, the investment is not cheap. You are going to buy certified seed. I said earlier that it will cost you up to 64,000 Kenya shillings. After that, you really need to double that. You need to get profit from that. If you do well, acre of certified potato seeds can fetch you up to 120 bags. Remember, you planted 16 and you can fetch up to 120 bags. To answer your question, before planting, we already talk to brokers or buyers and agree on a price. We never harvest until the buyer has paid a deposit. We've learned this the hard way. We've harvested over 100 bags per acre before, but the prices also will vary from as low as 1,800 to as high as up to 5,000, 6,000 shillings per bag. Just the season is different. For example, right now as we speak, we are in June, July. The potatoes in Molo will be going for 1,800, sometimes 1,500, up to 2,000. But come to December or even August and September there, when the season is low, not a lot of people have potatoes, then you can go up to 3,000, you can go up to 4,000, even as in the past. It depends. Some farmers ask why we use brokers. That's good. If you are a large-scale farmer and can handle transport and licensing, selling directly can pay you even more. But for us, we are not large scale, and it makes sense to use brokers and focus on negotiating better prices. Also, don't leave potatoes on the ground too long after maturity. How do you know they are mature? The leaves will start to be yellow and they will dry. That tells you it is time to harvest. Because if you don't, they will sprout, they will crack or rot, especially if it is raining.
Okay, Regina, once you've harvested and sold, is there anything you can do to cut costs for the next season? I've heard you mention clean seed. Why use that instead of buying fresh seed again?
Diana, that's a great question too. Clean seed actually is the first generation from certified seed, meaning it is harvested from a certified seed plant and stored properly to avoid diseases. While it is not as strong as fresh certified seed, it will give you good yield and it helps you to reduce input cost without compromising much on quality. For us, actually, we normally do up to the second generation before we can say no more to that seed. So first generation, I planted certified seed this season. I will harvest it in about 4 months. I will save the seeds from that harvest and I will plant again for the next harvest. For example, if I harvested 120 on my first generation seed, if I take care of the crop well, and if the timing and the season is good, I may harvest less by 20 bags, which means I may still harvest 100 bags. First season, 120, 130, second season, 100, and the third season maybe between 60 and 80. So that's still good.
Regina, thank you again for another practical, informative, and eye-opening conversation. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in into episode 11 of Regina the Telephone Farmer. Stay tuned for more real stories, real solutions, and the real hustle behind remote farming in Africa. Until next time, I'm Diana.
And I am Regina. You do not need boots on the ground to grow roots in the soil. Just the right mindset and the will to start. You are already a telephone farmer. If you are listening to this, if you are not a telephone farmer, begin to think of farming in your farm. Until next time, happy farming week. Thank you and God bless you. Subscribe and share. Share with your friend and let's farm together. Thank you.